My name is Arnie Geiger, maintenance training instructor, and I'd like to talk to you today about a couple of problems that we're already experiencing on the 757. I have in front of me here two light emitting units. One is strictly an indicator that I have here. This is strictly an indicator, the other being a light indication plus a switch. So we have two types of the switch also that we'll talk about. But let's take a look at the indicator first. The indicator is very easily relamped by simply pulling out on the drawer and exposing the lamps. There's no trick to it. There's no other requirements. We simply pull it out as we just grab a hold of it, pull it out, and that's it. There's the lamps exposed. Now, if we relamp it and it still doesn't work, we put new lamps back in there, we do have the opportunity of changing a diode module. The diode module is up underneath here. We take our finger, we take up underneath and push up on this gently. Remember, this is only plastic, so we need to lift up on that diode gently, pull the diode out, and as you can see, we have in front of us here a very small microprocessor card. So when we change the diode, now we have also the opportunity, when we have the diode removed, to just simply squeeze the sides of the drawer and we can remove the drawer. This will allow us the accessibility to change the whole switch module itself. We can have this switch be sitting in the panel, and we can reach down in here with a screwdriver and turn these little tiny screws inside that release the hold tabs on this back. There's only one problem that exists there, though, is these are held in to the various different modules with these clips, but they are also hardwired, so we must take a poke home tool and remove the wiring, and hopefully you will mark the wiring so you do not have a problem with the when you go to put the new switch back in. Putting the new switch back in, simply slide it into the module. Once again, reset the screws, poke home the wires, and then as you take the drawer, squeeze it very easily because it is nothing more than plastic. Put it back in there. Now we can take the diode card. The diode card has three prongs on the front which line up with the two lamps and a center wire here. So we make sure that's in the front. We tip the diode card back in the back. We tip the back of it down, and now we just push it down lightly and then close the drawer, shove it back together, and that's all there is. Of course, one thing to remember always when you are working with a relamping of any lamp is to be sure to pull the circuit breakers. Okay, let's take a look now at the switch lights. The switch lights and there are two types of these switch lights. There is the alternate action type and the momentary. What I have in my hand is the alternate action type. When I push in on this switch light, as I push it in, it stays latched in. I take my finger away and it stays in the latched in position. As I push on the switch again, it will become unlatched and come out to the extended position. The momentary action switch is the type where I push on it and I push in with my finger, it makes a contact, and as I release, it comes out with my finger. But it's made to contact, so each time that I actuate the momentary light switch, it will in fact take the make the contact. So now as I push this switch in, you might note as I push it in, this being the alternate action, we do have a mechanical shutter on there, and as I operate the switch, this mechanical shutter is showing us the condition of the switch selection. We have here the switch selected to the on position. Now of course the switch is not on because it's not even wired in, is it? So the switch telling us only that we have selected for this switch to be on, or for this system to be activated. The lower legend down here would tell us if in fact the system is operating. Now, the problem being this: when we go to relamp these switches, whether we have the alternate action or the momentary action, there are two types of this switch. There are two modifications of this switch. This is the old type that originally came with the airplane, and is easily denoted by the fact that the side of the cap is smooth. The newer Corey type switches that are installed in the airplane in various different places. We may have the old switch, we may have the new switch. These switches cost about $685 a piece, and they are not changed arbitrarily. They're only changed when we have a failed component, complete component failure. We take and then we put in a new Corey switch. But the point is this: if you have a Corey switch, it has a groove in the head. Along all four sides, you will feel a distinct groove in there. And to relamp a Corey switch, whether it be of the alternate action type or whether it be of the momentary action type, you simply grab the head and pull out on it. You cannot do that with this switch. The old type will not pull out. It needs to be taken and flicked. It has to be flicked, and this is right in the maintenance manual. We would just simply push that switch back until it is almost actuated, back about 1/4 of an inch with your thumbnail or with a screwdriver, and let it flick. Now, it doesn't always happen the first time. You take and you pull it. If it doesn't happen the first time, you go ahead and do it again. There you can see, you can actually see it right there that it has released. And now as I pull out on that, it easily comes out. Never, never, ever take a switch and grab the head of it and pull on it extensively, because if you do, you are going to pull the switch apart. So be aware, the switches with the smooth side, you must not put any excessive pressure on those. If they have the groove in, yes, you can pull them straight out. But with the smooth part, you must take it and flick it. Doesn't work the first time, flick it again. If it doesn't work the second time, do it until how many ever times it takes for you to get that switch released. There it is, third time. So now when you pull that switch out, you can see that we have the lamps exposed. Most of these lamps have most of these switch lights have 4 lamps in them. Here we show 2 here, and of course we have 2 other positions. We're missing the 5 volt watts on this particular switch light. But these lamps now can be removed with your thumbnail or whatever and relamped. Never put a switch back without the lamps in it. You need to always have lamps in it, whether it be of the new type or the old type or whatever the case may be. You can remove the head by simply removing these baling wires to make it much easier to relamp. But never put it back without the lamps, because down inside here we have spring contacts, and those spring contacts will come up into the the lamp socket, and will short out the lamp. All right. There is another thing that we can do once we've relamped this. If we've relamped this and it still does not work, the next thing that you need to do is this type of light also has a diode card. Not a very big one, but there is the diode card that goes in this light switch. Now, unfortunately, this particular light, the reason I have this is because someone has already broken a diode card in this one. But down inside, if you take and slip this down into a slot here, slide it down in there with a pair of needle nose, it will go down in here and sit in there and make contact to work the system. Alright, so we have the opportunity to put a diode to replace the diode card. Alright. Once we have these relamped and it doesn't work, and we change the diode card and it doesn't work, then you may possibly have to change the whole switch. If that is the case, these switches once again are mounted into each of the individual panel modules, and they are hardwired in. So we will need to take a poke home tool again. Once again, poke home all the wires here. And once again, hopefully you will mark them so you'll know which wire goes in where when you get the new switch. And once you have that done, you can remove the two tiny screws off the frame, slide the switch out through the front of the panel module itself. That is the way we have to change the switches. Putting a new one in, put it in there, secure it in place, put the poke home tools back in the, use the poke home tool to put the wires back into place. Be aware that if you do have the switch off of the baling wires, as we have taken it off here, the baling wires are very difficult to get back in, and this switch head will only go in one way. There's a very small protrusion here on the one side, so we need to make sure that we have that lined up inside, so when you put the baling wires back on, you will have the switch lined up properly. The baling wires are rather difficult to get on. As you can see right here, doing it on a table is difficult. If you're up in the airplane, it's all the more so difficult. So when you do this in the airplane, it's advisable to have a pair of needle nose available to hold the wire, to either hold the wire or hold the switch in place here for you, because as I say, it is, as you can see, quite difficult. The baling wires do absolutely nothing but hold the head of the switch in place for you. They just simply retain the switch, but once you get them in place and you have it lined up properly, we can push it together. Now when you go to replace the switch, as you go to put that in, notice it does not completely actuate, and this is a safety device, so that if you did perhaps forget to pull the circuit breaker, you wouldn't actually activate the system. So it's quite important that you pull the circuit breaker each and every time that you change any of these lamps, whether it be the switch light being the alternate action or the momentary switch light, whether it be the indicator light as we looked at here. Any time that you are doing any relamping, it is imperative that you pull the circuit breaker. But this was designed to protect you against that possibility, so the first actuation of it never actually made contacts. Now you can, second actuation, you can work it back and forth to see if it does actually work. Okay, recapping, let me say this. That we must be aware of the two types of switch lights as far as the old and the new. We need to be aware that the grooves on the Corey lamp allow you to pull the switch apart readily with no tricks. This one with smooth sides around it. You must have to flick the switch. You must flick the switch until it releases. Do not put any extensive pressure on that head of the switch, because you are going to have the cap in your hand to rest the switch in there, and they are not repairable in that condition. Okay, thank you and good luck with the 757.